Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Silverstone. This is round 6, I believe, of the Anti-Stall Racing IMSA Series Season 5. I am currently on my own, I have to say. We'll be joined later in the session by either the lovely Steve Hellwood or Niels Uleman. It will depend on who is here earliest. Track is still wet. We've had a wet practice, aim for a wet race. This is our first timelined race we've ever held here at Anti-Stall Racing. The intention was that we would have a dry qualifying and a dry warm-up and a dry start to the race, and it would get wet again, but the moisture doesn't seem to be moving here at Silverstone off the track. So we're going to have a wet qualifying. We've got a couple of cars out on track already trying to set lines. You can see the dry line starting to appear. We did have a couple of drivers try the slicks in practice, but it wasn't quite dry enough yet. Saying that, a lot of these guys are out on dries. Daniel Morby, who we're on board with slash following, is on the wet tyre, but there are a couple of cars on the dry tyre. Car number 37, Ryan Martin, currently leads the field, so he'll be the first car to take the green flag unless he dives into the pits for a tyre change. Here he is, Ryan, on the dry tyres. Let's get that up on screen for you. It won't take me long. Give me one quick second. We're going to put the tyres up there for everybody to see. See the tyre commands there. Most cars in this class out on dries and a couple still in the pit lane. So Ryan Martin's going to set first line on the dry, and you can see how wiggly he gets over the curb there. Nearly loses a car. Takes him half the straight to get a hold of it. That's going to show you just... Oh, and look, wet again. Really struggling when he hits the puddles. And is that him pulling off? Yeah, it is. So Ryan gives up on his lap. Try and catch up with one of the next cars out on track. Not sure who it is. Let's get on board with Daniel. He's in the wets. Let's see if he can make up time on the cars in front. The cars in front of him on the dries. So we'll try and get that graphic at the bottom updated for you in the future so that it shows what tyres they're all on. But Adam Jarvis with a purple sector. So Daniel seems to be sort of matching the pace so far of the cars in front in the first two sectors. It sort of depends on who you're looking at. Seven Vestra, a couple of corners ahead of him, is purple in sector 1 and sector 2. Matteo Batali purple in sector 3 at the moment. It's going to be interesting to see when the cars come to the line. Looks like he's getting caught up a little bit here behind. I believe that's Amy Grime in front of him, so not ideal at all. So that's it. Oh, and they're both off track, a couple of off tracks. We're going to have to watch that. There'll be people definitely getting their lap times deleted. So let's see what happens when the first drivers come to the line. I believe Matteo Ubertali is going to be one of the first to cross the line. Adam Jarvis as well, coming into the chicane towards the end of the lap. Only one more corner to go. This is where it's going to be difficult for those dry runners laying the power down here. We saw it on the start of the lap that we were on board with. So Matteo Batalo, Adam Jarvis goes quickest at 2 minutes 7.1. So that's the time to beat. Following Ignace here now. Just a couple of corners to go. This is a crucial lap for him. AM leader and was significantly quicker than a lot of the other AM drivers in Classic. Samir Shard has crossed the line on the wet tyres. He's a long way off the time, the quickest time on the dries. Daniel Morpy slots in as quickest of the wet runners, but still about 1.5 seconds off sort of average dry time. So, and oh, big moment there. So this is a risk of the dries. If you have a snap, you're going to have a snap. The wets are going to be much more consistent, but it looks like they're going to be slower, so that's going to be what is important to notice here. Don't know why the camera's decided to show us a GCP in the pit lane. This is Anthony Kotara, teammate, obviously won in the GT3 AM class last week. Matteo Great to see that happen, but what can his teammate do? Driving a different car. Matteo across the line just in front, goes up to P6 in the GT3 class. That'll be a pretty nice position in AM, I would imagine, as well. P2 in AM, only a 10th off Ignis, so much better lap for him there. Doesn't look like Anthony Cotara's lap was valid, but it was a pretty quick one. So track getting consistently better and better. Going to be crucial to watch the improvement. Already seeing a lot of green sectors in. Ignis has set a purple sector 2, but it was a yellow sector 1, so it was an outlap, but important to see those times trickling in. Daniel Morphy, let's watch on board, because this could be a much better lap. We've got purple sector 1, green sector 2, purple sector 3. Down the straight into the final complex. Through the chicane, really technical bit of a track, probably the slowest corners around Silverstone circuit. Now you've got to lay down the power here. Nice. Stefan Vestra goes up to P2, but can't match the time that Adam Jarvis has set. Daniel Maggioni, the driver we were on board with, goes quickest by 1.1 seconds, so a nice healthy margin there. Silverstone's really interesting, one of the obviously massive Grand Prix track, and probably the most famous of all the Grand Prix tracks, maybe only just behind Monaco. One of the most famous racetracks in the world. Really great to have the IMSA series back here. Really technically challenging circuit. Let's go and follow along with Casper Ummerlin. Comes into the last couple of corners, and you can see there at the bottom a couple of purple sectors and a couple of greens. This should fire him up the order. He's not set a lap time yet with number 88. What can he do? And he pulls over after going just shy of pole position, 400ths off nearly. So Bad'll be kicking himself a bit there. There's definitely time to find. Track is getting quicker and quicker and quicker, so we are going to have dry qualifying and probably a dry start to the race, I would imagine, unless somebody thinks it's going to rain a little bit sooner, and it's best to hold out for those dries. Cohen here is on a good lap so far. Green, purple sector 1. Let's see what it is in sector 2. Another Audi. Audis look like they're quick today. Let's get the car logos up on screen for you all. So yeah, Audis and Porsches dominate the field, but the Audis look to just have the edge over the Porsches so far, but it's an off track for Cohen, so that lap won't count. Daniel Maggioni going for some consecutive laps here, so clearly the tyre temperature is valuable. He's done a yellow sector for part of a lap, but then he's gone. Well, he was purple in sector 4, sorry, but that's been beaten by Mark D. Hutchinson. So increases the pole time though. That's the crucial number. Obviously can't move up the order, but putting 6 tenths between you and P2 is a big marker to lay down. Mark D. Hutchinson for Altitude Esports has only got a couple of corners to go. He's going to lay down the throttle, get a nice little toe from the Porsche, and that's going to put him up into pole position. So a 2-minute 3.6 is a new margin. We're going to keep seeing these times tumbling down as the track gets drier and the tyres get hotter. Porsche goes off in front, but that won't matter to him. Rick van Overbeek in the pro class is... Oh, see a couple of big lap times coming in. Daniel Morphy up to P2 in the BMW now that he's put the dry tyres on. So wets clearly weren't working for him, as we saw earlier on, and the dries have made a massive difference. So Rick a little bit careful here through Beckett, so the exits now through Chapel. Lay down the power. Needs Porsche to break into the top 3 really. They're a little bit off the pace at the moment, but I think this is more about your timing of your lap more than anything. The track getting consistently better. Are we going to see people try and get in that last 4-minute window, obviously, maybe reset to pits or come into the pit lane now to put on a new set of tyres, and then you'll have 1 warm-up lap, maybe 2, but a bit late for 2 now, so you'll have 1 warm-up lap, and then you might just get across the line in time. But that would be it. In fact, no, you'd have one warm-up lap and then a hot lap. So maybe we've already seen that people resetting are doing that. There's a couple of people that have got what look to be out-lap sector ones. So on the timing tower that I can see with a little bit more detail than we're able to put on screen for you, unfortunately. Adam Jarvis jumps up to P2 with a mighty lap time in the Porsche. That's going to put him up a little bit. Mark Hutchinson on a mega lap there. You can see lots of purple with a little bit of green dotted in between. Oh, but he pulls off the track before he completes a lap. So perhaps an off track or a mistake, or he's thinking now's the time to reset, get the fresh tyres and have one good warm-up lap. Casper Ummerlin on a good lap. Amy Grimes, by the way, is the leader in AM. Obviously that doesn't change your grid order, but does affect the points that are being scored, so we'll review those points at the end of qualifying and on our way to the grid during warm-up. But at the moment leading in AM class, so that's great to see. Lawrence van Strijlen jumps up to P7 in the pro class in the Porsche. So German dominated at the top. Ferrari's only in AM class, but saying that, Amy Grimes in the AM class is able to put a decent lap together, so maybe the Ferrari isn't too shabby around here. We just don't got any pros running the Ferrari at the moment. Casper Ummerlin, dominant lap time there, 2 minute 2.5, puts him to the top of the field. That's going to be hard to break for any other cars, and I say that, but he's going to beat his sector one time. And Magdi Hutchinson obviously still has a couple of quicker sectors, so if he can get out, he might be able to beat it. Daniel Maggioni is yellow, in sector 1, but he's purple in sector 2, so made up that difference. What can he do through the middle bit of the lap? He's got another car in front of him, but not too much spray, and won't be too much effects in a GT3, so that's okay. And maybe within that distance where he's going to get a nice toe even. In fact, let's watch him. Exits through Chapel Curve onto the Hangar Straight. It's getting closer to the Porsche. Doesn't seem too bothered about seeking the toe. Now he's going to try and carry as much speed as possible through Stowe before the braking zone in Vale into the club chicane. So, like we've already said once so far today, that is the tightest bit of the track. So let's bit of a track staying in a little bit, maybe to avoid some puddles on what is a slightly off-camber bit of the track. Now you got to really lay the power down. This is where we saw drivers struggling at the beginning of the session, but it looks much better staying off the curb, because that's going to be slippy. And it's not quite good enough, but he's chopped into that margin that Ummerlin had at the start of the session. In fact, Ummerlin is out again on a pretty good lap, actually. So let's go and watch him. Just a couple of corners to go. A lot of cars crossing the line now. Ignatius up to P5. up to P5 in the AM car, but P5 overall. So that's pole position in terms of points in the AM class. But it's off for Ummerlin. So he did set the lap time, I believe, but it wasn't good enough to beat it. Matteo Ubertali a long way off where we would expect to see him, a long way off where he'll want to be, but he's got a green sector 1 followed by a purple sector 2, so he's just got to hook together the next 2-3 sectors. He's already halfway through there. Through Copse Corner, really lean on the outside tyre there. It takes such a beating around a couple of the high-speed corners here, and then you're going to put loads of energy into both the lefts and the rights. We can see a little bit of spray coming up, getting a bit more adventurous on the curbs. He knows this is his second to last chance. In fact, it will be his last chance. We should have had the checkered flag from race control, so he'll be... There's car number 1, 2, 3, Paolo Antonori, is still driving around. I'm not sure if he crossed the line in time. I believe he may have done, but race control will be looking at that. It looks like he might not have, based off of when he how long he's been on this lap and what the clock says at the top. The checkered flag fell at 14 minutes past. So can Cohen, maybe, I don't know, he's about to cross the line. Can he dethrone Casper at the top? He can. Cohen goes to pole by 1/10 of a second. Can Mateo say anything about it? He's had a good lap. Where does that put him? Only up to P7. Casper Ummerlin loses pole at the very last second to Cohen, a driver we didn't really follow for most of that session. But that will be your pole sitter, I believe. Unless Paolo Antonori can improve, but I don't know if Race Control are going to allow him to finish. A green flag has come out for GTP. I believe he must have crossed a lap time. He must have crossed the start-finish line in time. Oh no, he's pulling off a track, so not allowed to finish a lap, or wasn't going to improve anyway. So Cohen Garrett's is your pole sitter in GT3, but now we get to follow the GTP action. So one driver in GTP, Hector Collazo, sorry, is on the wet. Everybody else is on the dry, so clearly wasn't paying attention to everybody else's times in the GT3 class. GT3 entries, all entries except car number 16 may enter the race. Not sure who car number 16 is. That's Jessica Perry. Didn't set a lap time and didn't even go out in qualifying, so perhaps not even in the session anymore. Anyway, that's a communication from Race Control. I believe the lap times are a little bit outside of 105%, but not hasn't been the case with most races, so great to see her competing in the Anstall Racing League. Plans for next season well in place at ASR. The IMSA series can reveal will be returning in one form or another. We're looking at the schedule and the format for next season, and that will be announced shortly. Obviously only a couple of races to go after this as we see Robin Duhamel spin off in front of Mateus. We're going to watch Mateus on this lap. He was pretty quick in Portimao in the rain and had a great result there, so can he replicate that in this qualifying session where there is still moisture on the track? Not very much, but we can see some of the pooling there, and that's why they're avoiding the edges of the track and the curbs. All of the cars are stacking up into the club chicane, and the next run down is the Hamilton Straight, named after the 7-time Formula 1 world champion. What can these drivers do? I think Mateus is probably a multiple-time ASR IMSA champion. Can he add anything to that tally? I believe he's not. I believe he's doing pretty well in the standings. We'll have a discussion about that when I'm joined by my co-commentator later in the race. So, a couple of purple sectors out there, but that is to be expected when you have the first drivers going around those parts of the track. Quinton Verdonk has held on to that purple sector 1, even though a few more people have gone through there. Mateus has done the purple sector 2, though. We're not seeing that time on screen, obviously, but that's because he was one of the first 3 cars to cross the line and isn't the closest to the finish line. Onto the old pitch straight here when we used to have that run down into Copse as turn 1. Don't have that anymore, and he's going to follow it through Copse. Keeps nicely off the curb, being very sensible, following his teammate here, and they'll be learning from each other about where the grip is on the track. Another advantage to having multiple cars in the session. But equally, if you're on your own, you can easily follow behind, and we know Matteo Lemeroy in GT3, and he has another teammate in GT3. Trying to recall who that is for you. Can't see them on the timing tower though, but that must just be my eyes. That's because I'm looking at the wrong bit of the timing tower. So Matteo Lemeroy, obviously teammates with Anthony Cotara. We've got the first lap times, but my point was is that obviously they have a car in GTP as Mateus spins out coming to the line, and that's not what he'll have won. Jean-Paul Seaman, his teammate, goes to pole position as well. That's a bit of a kick in the teeth as the 2 teammates battle it out at the front of the championship standings. David van der Wacker, purple in sector 1, another DLR car, learning from his teammates. The point I was trying to make with the GT3s is you can learn a lot as a GTP from your GT3 teammates. What tyres are they using? Where's the grip on the track? Where are the puddles? It'll be really helpful, as well as watching the onboard. You get an extra layer of feedback. Just been informed Mark D. Hutchinson isn't showing on the timing tower in the stream, so we'll get that sorted quickly. But Jean-Paul Seaman is currently P1. His teammate Davy van der Wacker wasn't quite able to beat it. It looks like he had a bit of an off-track incident and maybe got a instant point. Alvaro Gutierrez is on a good lap so far. Currently sits P2, but he'll be looking to improve that. Oh, but he goes off in Stowe, so GTP is clearly still getting used to the track conditions. Balaz is purple in sector 4, sorry. 5 sectors around here on iRacing. Can he do into the braking zone? Takes a lot of curb. These guys are getting really confident. And a bit early on, it doesn't even start. The Acura is such good grip compared to some of the other cars. And where's that lap going to put him on pole by 1.1 seconds? So there's still some to come from the other drivers, but that is a big lap time to be laying down at this point in the session. So David van der Wacker on his second lap has gotten a little bit closer to the pole sitter, but still 4/10 margin. That'll be confidence building for Balaz. He's yellow in sector 1 but green in sector 2, so, and then purple in sector 3, so he's still on to perhaps improve this lap. It's got to be interesting to see when he comes to the line. So anybody that's not subscribed to the Underscore Racing channel, would be much appreciated if you can hit that button. We need those subscribers to help build the channel. Only 5 away from 500, so anybody that can hit that button or knows anybody else that would love to watch some great racing, it would be much appreciated. So Balaz, 2 purple sectors now, coming on to the Hamilton straight. Can he improve? Was this sector 1 that far off the pace? It doesn't look like it was if he's committed to it. He pulls off and he goes even quicker, nearly 0.6 of a second quicker than his previous lap. So puts a nice big buffer back out there, and he resets and goes again. So clearly the GTP's feeling the track is a little bit drier. Consecutive laps aren't quite as required. Mateus crosses the line. Goes to P3. Nice lap. Jean-Paul Seaman goes to P2. So they're edging towards the pole sitter, but not quite able to beat it. Jean-Paul Seaman instead of purple sector 1, but then just reset to the pits. Aaron Avia, no purples, but a lot of greens and 1 yellow. So can they move up the timing page? Currently sitting P5, so they're not going to move up to the top, but it's pretty difficult to get purple sectors for everybody else when you're about 2 seconds off the leader. So even a little bit of, there you go, 1.2 seconds off. So doesn't move up in positions, but secures that P5 with 0.7 of a second gap over the car behind. You've got a lot of drivers so far who haven't been able to set times. They're all still running around, but struggling a little bit more in these conditions. It's a really interesting trade-off when you get these conditions in the qualifying session. It's kind of a bit of hero or zero moment. You've got to send it. If you just take it a bit slow, you're going to lose the tyre temp, and you're going to be 3 or 4 seconds off the pace. So you kind of got to send it and just hope it sticks. Maybe get a banker lap in, but you know, at a certain point you're starting 20th or 15th. Does it really matter? Or would you rather have one big send it moment and try and go for pole position or the front row? So highest place car at the moment is Davy van der Wacker in P4, working with his teammates who are currently P2 and P3 overall and in Pro. Maybe got a nice setup there on the DLR Acuras. Aeronavia, Yao Dios also in the AM class there, close behind. Mateus goes ahead of his teammate, Jean-Paul Seaman, with a decent lap. He had a purple sector 2 and a couple of greens. Davy van der Wacker is got a purple sector 1 so far, but then a couple of yellows. So can he improve? That's going to be crucial to see coming into the final complex. Braking into club, turn steering wheel as much lock as it goes right, and then quickly switch back to left to maximise. And then this is the crucial one: get it turned in but keep the speed, lay the foot down quickly. You're going to gain a lot of time in the race, maybe not so much in qualifying. It's a short dash to the start finish line. There's no improvement there for Van der Wacker, but he's going to carry on and try and use the momentum in the tyre to be built on the previous lap to do that. We've got about 3.5 minutes left in this session, so if the drivers will make it to the start, well, if the drivers are in the pit lane, this is now the time to reset and get that out lap. And it's a little bit too late now, I believe. We need it's about 2 minutes, I'd say, for an out lap. There's a spin there for Van der Wacker, so he won't improve on this lap, but he'll be able to reset, get one out lap, and then go straight for the hot lap, and that'll be all he gets. You can only take the checkered flag once, of course. Okay, I believe we're about to be joined by Niels. There he is. So great to have you, Niels. I don't know if you've been watching along. I believe you've been travelling back, but we've had a very interesting qualifying session so far, so let's just sum it up for yourself and the viewers. So we had a wet start in GT3, track slowly been drying up to the point where everybody set their lap times on dry tyres. All the GTPs are out on dry tyres. Balaz has been pretty dominant, but everyone's sort of getting closer to him, so he's going to have to set another lap time if he wants to improve. You can see all the cars going around now. This is sort of the calm before the storm. Everyone's got to get one more lap after this one, it looks like.
Yeah, thank you, George. I've been traveling, yep, so I've not been catching up, but great to see Blas up again. He's just been dominating, hasn't he? It's the same story at Imola, but also Hector I see here in P2, pretty far up. If you haven't been promoted to a pro driver, I think you might be looking at a promotion rather soon. He's been unlucky in some of the races, but yeah, doing great now. Just over 10th slower than Balaz, and then of course Matthijs P3 4 tenths down. But yeah, if it's drying up now, everything can still happen. There's about 2 minutes left to the session.
Yeah, not long to go. We just had the 2-minute warning from race control, and there's obviously only about 1 minute 30 left now, so too late to start a lap from the pit lane, but anybody that's sort of through that first sector will get one more go at it, so it's kind of the last chance for a lot of these drivers. Can Van der Wacker improve? No, he can't because it's an out lap. Apologies, or he had that spin in sector 1. So Mateus, yellow, yellow, purple is what I'm seeing on the timing stand, but you know, yellow can be just a tenth or less, obviously, off your previous lap time, so that purple sector may carry him to the line. He's P3 at the moment. That's 4 tenths off of pole position, so he doesn't need to necessarily move forward. Hector Class is obviously an AM driver, so that's going to be an interesting dynamic when we come into the race, especially, I believe, we can try and put the weather up on the stream. I don't believe that overlay has been fully finished off yet.
Yeah, it's a 43.377. We're really close. Great improvement from his previous laps, but it's not enough for more than his P3, which he said most of the race. Let's see, or the qualifying session, sorry. Yeah, it's really drying up now. You can see the spray coming from the tires is, well, it's none now. So even though he's only improved a little bit on this last lap, he can still find a lot of time out there by just being in the car, being on the track, drying up. Prima, the bit of radio, didn't hear that one. See Patrick Savati, also improvement from him. Seeing a lot of improvement now, and it's the same as you said, George. It's drying up, so it's what we can expect. Jean-Paul Simon P4, purple sector 1 and 3 green sectors. We could also see him moving up. He's not that far down from not from Matthias or Balázs.
Yeah, Jean-Paul only. Yeah, I can definitely see him moving up. Let's see what it is when he comes to the line. If not, he can... Oh, goes to pole position. So, great lap from him there. Green but no purples. That just shows you what you can do. Balázs on his way onto the Hamilton straight now. A couple of yellows but one purple as well. What can he do? It matches the lap time of Jean-Paul Seaman, but he said it just after, so you can see that delta is 0.001 of a second. Matches the lap time. Are we going to have a front row with the same lap times? Matthias can still do something about it. He's got 2 purple lap times. Come on, Matthias, match that lap time again. That would create the most interesting... Oh, but he doesn't. He goes to pole, and we now see a delta between Jean-Paul and Balázs, but that's the difference to Matthias, so just a bit of rounding there, but almost it is on my timing tower showing identical lap times. Let's see if we can get them up on stream.
It's incredible to see 2 drivers doing the exact same, and also with Jean-Paul, he's of course a drying condition. It's going to be a bit varying, not that long from Balázs crossing the line, or from Jean-Paul to Balázs crossing the line, but still a slightly drier track. So Jean-Paul has had a great lap. The question is if he could have found just a little bit more time if he had been the one crossing the line later. But Matthias, yeah, it just shows what he's made of, right? He's been doing this all the time. Just having great qualifying sessions. Haven't had it in Imola. Didn't believe he had it in Watkins neither. But he's back. 3/10. Half a second improvement from his other lap, which was once again 3/10 faster than the previous lap, so he's almost found, it's not quite a second, right, but 7/10, 8/10, 7/8 in 2 laps. Also says a lot about the track state, doesn't it?
Yeah, we saw the track getting continually quicker all the way to the end of the session, so that's going to be definitely an interesting dynamic on the race start. You know, we're going to have a drying track that's then, I believe, going to get wetter and wetter and wetter. Unfortunately, I can't work out a way to get the iRacing graphic up on stream for you, but I can tell you from race control, it looks like it's going to get wetter, then drier again, and then wetter again. I can look at the weather forecast on iRace control, and it is definitely due to get wetter as the race goes on.
Yeah, from what I've been seeing and hearing, it's gonna get absolutely soaking wet at some point in the race, and then it's gonna dry up a little bit and then get even worse, or at least close to almost flooded. I would say it's not looking great for the drivers, but the wet weather racing is the most interesting, at least for the viewers. It's also interesting for the driver, but for completely different reasons.
Absolutely. So on pole in GT3 overall is Cohen. He's on the front row alongside Casper Ummerlin. Obviously points are awarded in Pro and Am, but we'll go through this as is, and you can catch up on those points on the website in the link in the description. Just head to the Install Racing website, hit results, and IMSA Season 5 will be the first option you see, and you can see the results so far this season. That's an accumulation of qualifying and race points. So Cohen on pole alongside Casper Ullman, his fellow Dutchman Daniel Maggioni, P3, Daniel Morphy, P4, the driver who tried the wets but gave up quite quickly. Adam Jarvis in P5, Ignis P6, Matteo Batali P7, Ignis the highest rated AM driver of course. Mark Hutchinson in P9 and Anthony Kotara in P10. Followed by Lawrence Van Stryland, his name's not showing on here properly. I'll get that fixed before the race if I have time. Ryan Martin, P12, Eldin Zenderink in P13, Amy Grime, P14, Alvaro, P15, Matteo Lemeroy, P16 after winning in AM class last time. We'll have a challenge to move up the order that much this race. Paolo Antonori in P17, Rick Van Overbeek in P18, followed by Samir Ashard, P19, and Emre in P20. And then Jessica Perry in P21, who will not be starting the race. Ule, do you want to take us through the GTP standings?
Yes, just had a look at the great lap at the end for Matthias. So he's starting on pole position next to Jean-Paul, who is just edging out Balázs sitting an identical lap time, even though it doesn't show quite in the timing yet. P3, P4 for Hector Colasso, great and performance from him. Then it's P5 for Eloy Carbonaro, as we see someone in the rear, back there, going off hitting the wall. Alright, Davey Wacker,
Right,
P6.
so just as the usual weekly reminder,
Then in P7 it's Patrick Savati, P5 Robin Duhamel, P9 for Albert Preem, P10 for Barry Gutierrez,
as a more specific reminder,
P11 for
there may
Evan
be
Avino,
cars
P12
around you
for
on the other
Quentin
tyre, whether
Fadon,
that's wet or dry, whatever.
P13 for Raul Diaz, P14 for
keep that
Jean-Claude
into
Weiler,
account.
P15 for
And
Daniel
also, when
Runiger,
you're, if
P16
you're
Marcel
side by
Wolf,
side with downlets, you're trying to leave racing
P17
through,
Carlos Pons,
keep in mind
P18
that
Kevin Hill,
the
and
curbing may be wet, the
P19
side of the
Mohamed
track may
Carl
be wet,
Lombard.
there may be grass that is even less grippy than normal.
Race control just
Leave
giving some
adequate room
briefings
for
in the
adjustment.
background there to
Other than that,
the
all I have to say is
drivers.
have a good race and enjoy.
So we're about to go. We've got a 1 minute 30 left on warm up, so we'll just leave these cars running around in the background. Ule, what are you looking forward to most in this race? Is it the weather? Is it the championship battle we've got heating up in GT3 in GTP Pro? Obviously championship battles in GTP Am as well, very close. And GT3 Pro, Casper Imland's got a bit of a lead, but it's not as much as you'd think.
No, it's of course always interesting with the championship battles, but I'm looking forward to see how people convert the qualifying place in somewhat dry conditions into a race pace in a completely wet conditions. It's just because you can drive in the dry doesn't mean you're going to be good in the wet. You see that quite often, especially in endurance. It's quite difficult, and you can push as much as you want in the wet and have a lot of good laps, but if you get it warm one time and hit the wall, then you're out, right? So it's also a fine line between being on the edge and being safe. I think it's going to be the most interesting part of this race. It's always interesting when it's wet, isn't it?
Absolutely.
A little bit of an outside line there. But you see in all kinds of racing, you see let's just take Formula 1 as a prime example. Not hitting others like Matthias does. No, but it's something like Lance Stroll that takes pole position because he just gets it right in the wet. It's for obviously a qualifying session you only need one good lap, but everything can happen. It's wet conditions. It is just a completely different monster. I know there's some Dutch people in here who is gonna be more used to the wets, so let's see if they can pull it off compared to some of the others. I believe there's some British people that should also be able to nail it pretty well.
I would expect the Brits to be used to the wet tyres, especially around Silverstone.
But I can ask you, George, is it raining in real life as well?
Well, I can tell you what, I'm only about 50 kilometres away at most from Silverstone Circuit, and it's bone dry at the moment. It's the best weather we've had in quite a while, but it did also rain earlier today, so that's British weather for you.
Yeah, can change any moment.
Exactly. So I think that's exactly what we're going to see in the race as well. We're going to see a lot of changes in the weather. It's dry right now. Don't expect that to last for most of the race. It's due to get quite a bit wetter based off of the forecast. So Matthias will lead the grid in GTP, of course, and then there'll be obviously GT3 have been advised by race control to leave a slightly bigger gap based off the track being a little bit moist.
Yeah, maybe you can give us a bit of an update on the way. How is it that it's looking? I mentioned it a little bit. I think you also have mentioned it, but just a brief update. What can we expect here in the first 10 minutes, like weather-wise?
So I think we are due some rain. You can see that big mix of drivers on dry and wet tyres there on the timing tower. What will Matthias do? Leaders are all on a dry. Patrick Zavassi is a car to watch on the wets. Can he keep up with these guys until it starts to hit? It's going to hit pretty quickly, I believe, from race control. Race control room, I don't know if we can have an update on the weather for us. That would have been much appreciated. Mateus leads through turn 1 then. A little bit of battling further back, but he's held the lead. Closely chased by his teammate. Now they're going to have to run down the famous Wellington Straight into Luffield Corner, but Mateus is broken away very well there, you'd have to say. A lot of battling further back. The wet tyre runners, Patrick Zabassi, is dropping down the order, but is it worth it to lose this time now for when it starts to rain a little bit more later on? Who's that off there? That's Mateus, went off at the end of the straight. Let's go and watch GT3s. Through turn 1, nice and tidy. A lot of pack racing.
A lot of battle in the background there. See who's going to get around the outside. Is that Aaron Avina? Yeah, it looks like he's going for it. Is he going to make it stick? Still a little bit alongside us, the 88 there of Kasper Umelen. Tries to go around the outside of Cohen Garrett, but doesn't get the wrong. But this time, looks like he might have something to say. Gonna try and go down the inside.
Kasper was by far the quickest car in qualifying until that last lap, and he's going to make it through on the inside. Cohen, worth noting, is on the wets. I didn't realise that. He's one of the drivers that stuck the wets on, waiting for it to get a little bit wetter later on, so he might lose some time now, but he's expecting that to pay off later when the rain comes in about a lap's time.
Incident, please, my dad. You got turned.
Yeah, I wanted to try and look like Patrick Sivelin. He managed to keep the dry tires off pretty well there in the beginning. Of course, he's lost some ground, so he lost a position just before we changed to the GT3s. But you can see it is still wet out there. There's some spraying going on, a bit of the background.
This is what happened to
Guess we got a little bit of a replay here.
Matisse. Looks like it's at the end of the straight based off where we saw his car. So what's going to happen here? It must be a lock-up, surely.
Please,
Oh,
please check the
big twitch. Loses the rear.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it is you see there's a little bit of spray there, so it might just been caught out by a damp patch, something like that. I would assume. But that's also the game you take by going on dry tires in semi-moist conditions like these. See a really close battle in here still for P1 in the GT3 Pro class.
Yeah, Daniel Morpy's not going to give up this in the BMW. You can see them using a lot more of the curb than the GT3s are willing to in qualifying, so track's clearly getting a lot drier. Cohen is tumbling down the order, you have to say. It is raining. Looking at the radar now, 6.7% in iRace control, but that might be chance rather than... I don't know if that's chance. Apologies, I don't know if that's chance or coverage. A big info from Race Control is we're expecting a big bit of rain in 13 minutes. I'm not sure how much or how heavy it'll be, but it's a big cloud that looks like it's ready to deposit some serious water on the track. Is Daniel Morpy going to make a move here? BMW looks like he's eager to get past. Maybe he thinks he's got a bit of dry pace in the car and he just wants to get out there and use it as quickly as possible. Can see just where the puddles are falling.
Yeah, I see a bit of puddle there on the inside of Luffield, so I think we're slowly getting there to the conditions where the wet tires will start to make a little bit more sense, but they have a bit of a gap there, as I tried to mention, with Kasper and Daniel. 3 seconds down to Adam, so you can afford to battle a little hard. See if we get a bit of a run here. 77 for Hector taking on Davey. It must be he's trying to get his GTP P1 back up the inside.
Oh, it's a contact. Very close.
Oh yeah, but they both make it out alive. You know, a big spray there on the inside. I think yeah, we'll see him in the windscreen here as well.
He's going to get a run down to Cops early to the inside. You've got to be dominant on the brakes if you want to make him move. Looks like he's had to back out there. Oh, nearly gets into the back of Davey. GT3 coming a cropper on the outside. It's for wet weather tyres. Don't seem to be working for people so far, but we are nearing about 20% chance of rain. So some bits of the track may be getting a little bit wetter. We'll start to see wipers coming on and on the cars, and droplets start to form some small puddles on the track in a short time, I would imagine. Looks like he's going to get past. Can he do it around the outside through Stowe? No, he can't. Oh, he's going to make it stick though. hits a big puddle, but he's going to make it done in the braking zone. You can see the rain really coming down here. Wipers on now, so let's watch, keep an eye out for those wet weather tyre runners, because a lot of these dry tyres are going to need to come in for the wets sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I was going to be a bit afraid that Hector was going to get a slowdown there from the overtaking. Might have just been lucky and taking on 1x. A bit of on the edge, but great move around the outside. Especially with the damp patches, you don't know what's out there. There's have to be formed a little bit of a dry line with all the drivers taking a similar line in both GT3 and GTP, but then you don't know what's on the outside.
Mark Hutchinson had contact on lap 1. Looks like it's going to be into...
Yeah, into cups.
Oh!
Try and see, goes up the inside, yeah. And just takes out 36 there.
I believe that's under investigation by race control. Meldin also with contact. Not sure what's going to happen here. Four cars from the same team, so they're not going to end well. So, oh yeah, big whack. Spins himself out though. His teammate seems to have gotten away with it. Marcel Roof is in the pit lane with a meatball. That's been cleared now. But let's see what happened to the Porsche. Being a little bit slippy. Alloy cars all around.
Trying to make it.
Oh, gonna lose a rip.
Up the inside now, he spins himself.
Oh!
Yeah, he hits two drivers, so it's unfortunate. He tries to go up the inside of the caddy there, but realizes...
Right, a lot of GT3s entering the pit lane as it's getting wetter. They're all going to be going full wet tyres. Robin Duhamel is the leading GTP on the wets. Cohen is still the leading GTP runner on the dry, on the wets in GT3, sorry. So a lot of the leaders are in GTP. Looks like everybody's pretty much in from what I can see. A lot. Oh no, Hector Kalaz and Davey van der Wacker have stayed out, I believe. Timing tower's a bit all over the place. It doesn't seem to quite know.
Race control, please tell me.
No, might... Yeah, it looks like they're staying
They have stayed out.
The driver behind them is pitting. That's a really, really ballsy choice. Who's that for?
This is Robin Duhamel in GTP. He started on the wets, still on the wets. Can he make up some positions doing that? Jean-Paul Seaman is not even coming out of the pit lane yet. This is going to be incredible. Can Robin Duhamel lead a race for the second time this season in the AM Class? Remember his wets. Oh, he goes off track though, and he's going to get a huge slowdown here, you would imagine. But he's going to have tyre temperature a lot more so than Jean-Paul Seaman does. He's right alongside him though, but can Robin hang on? And I believe Robin doesn't...
Oh, Robin spins in the background, trying to go around the outside on this cold, dry... wet tires, sorry, that's just the risk you have to take when you try and push in cold tires, especially in the wet, unknown conditions. You see Robin Duhamel making a similar mistake, even though he has wet tires. Another Porsche GT3, looks like he went off for a moment there. Robin trying to make it around the outside.
So Robin now essentially the leader, because he's massively caught up to Davey van der Wacker and Hector Kalaz, who are only a few corners up the road.
Yeah, but lovely to see that the gamble pays off, isn't it, George?
Yeah, it was really interesting to see. When we were setting up the session, I did have this discussion with Andy, head of race control. I thought people would start on the wets, and he wasn't confident. He thought that they would eat themselves after a few laps. So it looks like these guys are taking it careful, and it's really paid off for them. And just look how much more grip he's got than a lot of the other dry runners. Hector Kalaz has had a spin up ahead. Let's see, we'll come to him. I think he's just managed to get back on, but that's cost him even more time. Albert Preem moving extremely slowly up ahead as well. He's had to reset to the pits. So Matteo Ubertali now the leading wet runner. Cohen didn't gain quite as much as he would have liked from his gamble, but there's the leaders now in the pit lane. I believe Daniel Morphy has stayed out again, has he?
Yeah,
he has. Daniel Morphy stayed out again on the dries. So the BMW driver trying something really risky here. Maybe if he thinks he can make it to the 10-minute mark and have one less pit stop than the other drivers, that'll be really important to see. Mateus is in the pits again. Has he had an incident? I don't believe so. Just wait. Oh, he just waited one more lap than the other drivers, didn't he?
Yeah, he was really late in to change the tires. It didn't look like it hurt him too much. a nice consistent gap to the others throughout his tries. But I don't think you gain anything. Oh, looked like someone had a bit of switcher, but you don't get anything. Yeah,
this is Van der Vacker and Hector Colazo who has stayed out another lap on the dries. Not quite sure what has convinced him that's the way to go when everyone else is on the wet and lapping much quicker. Robin Duhamel now only just off these guys.
But Hector is gone for the timing table now. Just disappeared. Did you have an incident then?
Yeah, I believe he did. Let's try and find that.
Yeah. Looked like, because right as we went on...
Hector Colazo retired from the session. Let's try and find that replay. Here we go. He won't be pleased. That's the second time in 2 races. He's had an incident. Oh, it's just gone straight on.
Go straight.
Aquaplaning. Quinton Verdonk has also had an incident, I believe. I'll find that one to show you. Let's go back to live images as Robin now leads in GTP overall. 2.2 leave off over Avale, who's just behind him, the pro class. Davy van der Vacker still driving on the dries. Daniel Morpy still driving on the dries, but he's just lost the lead in GT3, so he'll surely have to be in this lap. But he's made that crucial 10-minute mark now. He can make it on 2 more stops, you would imagine, but maybe he's not considered that the fuel consumption is going to be a lot lower in the rain, as we see some incredible side-by-side racing here. GT3, GTP. Oh, and big avoidance there from Morpy, who's going to go straight into a barrier.
Tries to avoid some GTPs, but ended up going off the wall, so I hope he doesn't have too much damage, but it looked like a very hard hit.
Like a big hit. Not sure how much of a lap he had left to go. I think he was nearly at the pits, so maybe limp it back for the dries. For the wets, sorry, we'll see. He made the call to stay out 1 lap longer than he definitely should have done.
Yeah, but if you notice the Van der Vacker's his gap compared to P1, it was just dropping there at the end.
Watching
it was, that's just why you are going for the wets as soon as you notice that you start to lose grip, especially with the weather getting heavier and heavier. It's it's not worth it to stay out on any kind of dry tyres.
Yeah, I don't quite understand the strategy from David van der Vacker, who's got teammates in the same car as him, who went to the wets. He surely should have been able to see that their tyres were in a much better condition. That's a 10-second time penalty for Mateus Vincent.
Hector really staying out a bit too long on the dry tyres, I think. Let's see. I love it to see that they can keep it on track even though we're going side by side. Of course, it's extremely difficult. The rear can snap at all times, so you can start complaining. And once you start complaining, there's nothing to do. You're just a passenger in your own car.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But some wet tires starting to show still that the gamble was paid off. Trying to see where Patrick ended up. He was one of the first runners on the wets from the start, but it doesn't look like he's gained as much time as some of the others have.
No, running quite far down his field, P8.
But you can see Samir Ashad, he's already up into P3, had a horrible qualifying session, and I don't think I'm having this ego too much by saying that they lost from the running cars. But into P3 now, he not sure if he started on the wets, but must have started on the wets or gone into the pit before the others. With this kind of improvement.
For the third time in 3 races, we're going to have to go to the overall standings, GTP and GT3, because AM is leading in GTPs. I think that's the best way to view the standings and to actually understand the battles that we've got on track. I think the most interesting battle at the moment for me is this lead for GT3. So Matteo Ubertali is currently leading in the pro and overall, followed closely behind by Daniel Maggioni and then Samir Shard, not only just under a second behind them as well. And Cohen Gertz has just made a move for P4, so he'll be quickly onto the back of this pack, you'd have to say. And look how close these 3 are. The GT3 is trying to slot their way through the field as well.
Yeah, you talked a bit about the championship as well, by Matteo Ubertali leading in P1. and I don't really see Casper anywhere. Casper Unen, current P1 in the GTP Pro overall standings. I think he might be able to take it home this time if he can keep it on track, keep it between the lines, and of course keep his P1. But he has Daniel Maggioni right behind him, half a second. It's nothing in wet racing. Small mistake and you're off into the grass and there's nothing you can do, and then he sails past. But a nice little gap there down to Simia Ashad, who's of course not going to be too much of a worry for these guys, seeing as he's driving in the M category. But unless I'm mistaken, he is in the M category. He is pro. Simia Ashad, the former AM champion. So I'm sorry for that. That's gonna be interesting for Matteo Battaglia as well. Looks like he's going a little bit just hovering around the 1 second marker there, but Cohen 2.15 seconds down, so it's only really P3. That's interesting. Robbie Duhamel in GTP is scoring 1.7 seconds to Juanso Ovalle, also another driver who didn't really make it in qualifying, but shown to have some great pace here in the race. Young Ovalle pretty far down. I think he was about the bottom 5. Not really where you want to be as a pro driver. Theo Batali still keeping that the nice gap. Found half a second there somehow. I think it's a GTP coming through, splitting them. Of course, Matteo Batali and Daniel Maggioni. That instead leaves Samir Ashad for a free invitation up into to the P2. So let's see. He's been driving great. Let's see if he's gonna be close enough to go up the inside he's looking for. He is side by side. Can they do it without touching? They can, but they're still side by side. He doesn't make it through. Will of course have the outside here. Looks like he's going for a bit of a cutback. Doesn't quite make it work. He's still behind, but close enough to have a decent amount of slipstream. So he's going to be having a great run here down the Wellington straight. Question if he has the balls to make any kind of move here. Looks for a little bit of an inside move, but I think it's better off it. Oh, someone is off. GTP off there. The corner of Brooklyn's. Not sure who was purple GTP Acura. But there's a lot of them, so could it be anyone?
Well, look, Aaron Avia.
Gonna get the replay here, yeah. Yeah, loses the rear.
Oh.
And then there's nothing you can do.
Narrowly avoids the barrier.
Yeah, it doesn't hit the barrier. It's a great save. Quite easy to just instinctively lock the brakes, and then there's really nothing you can do. Just gonna increase the aquaplaning.
Avale now all over the back of Robin Duhamel for the lead in GTP.
Thank you, mate. Lap down and...
Another great...
Oh, and he's going to muscle his way through.
Touch between the two.
Don't think Robin will be best pleased about that. He's going to get slightly better exit here, maybe. He's going to dip into the slipstream as well. He got a mega run there. Can he have a go down into the braking zone at the end of the hanger straight? Not the hanger straight, apologies.
A little bit of great exit there from Yangso in the exit of the loop, I believe it's called.
So being informed by race control, the rain has stopped and we can see the wipers have gone off, dropped down to 0% coverage. So now is going to be interesting. We saw it take quite a while to dry up in the previous session. What's going to be interesting is what the track temperature is. Ule, I don't know if you could... Oh, here we go. I found the correct button. There we go. So, still 74% moisture on the track, but it's obviously not raining anymore, so we can see that ticking down very quickly. Track temperature is 21. Ambient temperature is also 21 degrees. So, with all the cars going around the circuit, I would actually expect that we're going to see the track dry up quicker than we did perhaps in practice and in qualifying. But is it going to get dry enough that it's worth going on dries before the expected next batch of rain? That's going to be the real challenge.
Yeah, and this is where the real gamble starts to pay in. A lot of of time to be gained by starting on the wet tires, but when do you change to the dries? If you change at the right time and then change back to the wets, I believe we're going to get a bit more rain towards the end. You can gain almost as much, if not more time, than just by starting on the wet tires. So it's nothing is over just because they have a nice gap there. Jiangsu and Ruben lit down to Jean-Paul and P3. Ruben have a little bit of a nicer gap, seeing as he's an AM driver, and he has even more gap than Jiangsu have. But
yeah, next AM driver is nearly next AM driver is nearly 20 seconds back.
Yeah, so that's around half a pit stop, I believe. A lot of lap time to be gained if you just go in at the right time. Of course, the what do you call it? The improvement that you have from staying out a bit more as P1 is that you can see the others going in, and then you can see that if they start to go faster, if they start to go a little slower, and then make your call on that. But if you want to have your lead, you have to gamble, just like they already have been doing. So that's what we're looking forward to now. The tactics really starting to play, and that's another completely different side to the red racing. It's extremely more tactical than it is to just have a dry tire racing where you look at the traffic that you have up ahead and then you make a judgment from that. Here you have to make a judgment on what's right at what time, and if you make it wrong, then you've seen what happens with dry tires and the wets. But great gap in the two classes. Macchioni seems to be gaining a little bit on Upatali, half a second. Is a gap down to again, just about. So he's not giving up on his hope of taking back P1 or going into P1. I don't believe he got it this time around. Big twitch there.
A little bit loose.
Sideways.
So I think crucial to know as well that the spray is clearly not going to be pleasant as well behind other cars, which is maybe why we see cars dropping back a little bit. The visibility doesn't look too bad on the camera, but I can tell you, and I'm sure so can my co-commentator Ule, that it's definitely worse when you're the one driving, and it doesn't look that bad on these cameras compared to what it actually does look like when you're in the cockpit.
Absolutely, it's I can have flashbacks from the first raining duo that we had in iRacing at Sebring going down the Allman straight. Ooh, is that a bit of a wide move there? No, it looks like he's going to be able to have it between the lines of Batali. But yeah, as long as you have 2-3 drivers in front of you with a huge amount of spray, you can't see anything. You can't see the sights, you can't see what's in front of you. The only reference point you have is the brake lights. And yeah, if you don't know where you're going, then you're off into a wall. Simple as that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting. We saw two teammates battling for the lead in GT3 Pro last week, but it wasn't these two, was it? It was two of the DLR cars. So is something similar going to happen here?
Casper, and then I don't remember who the other one was.
So yeah, exactly. Are we going to see a similar situation with fuel here, do you think, or is fuel not going to be a concern for these drivers at all in these conditions?
Yeah, but it's a great question, George, because you don't use as much fuel in the wet because you have a lot more throttle management, and you have a lot of scripts, so it's gonna equal itself out a little bit more, I think, because the slipstream does help you. But I don't think it's the fuel that it's gonna come down to here. It's gonna come down to how you drive in the wet. It's significantly easier to just stay behind someone when you can actually see where you're going. So it's, as you mentioned, quite difficult. And if he makes a mistake in front, Upatali, I think Daniel's gonna take it. I don't think he's gonna play the nice guy. It's because he's in a similar looking car. But he's pulling away Upatali. The gap is now up to 1.2. Of course, a little bit of GTP traffic here playing into the equation, but different line from Daniel. Takes a bit more narrow, but how does that show in the time? Doesn't really gain that much. Looks to be roughly the same time-wise. Still 1.1 seconds between the two. Going to be compromised a little bit there, by the GTP coming through, but it's not gonna hurt him too much.
So
So
let's
still the same lap time.
take a
Garrett's
replay. Davey van der
150.
Vakker's had an incident. Not sure what it is. Showing us a crash.
Yeah.
Oh, is he gonna go deep into the braking zone like I've seen so many? Oh, snap on the rear under braking. Oh, I nearly said very well held, and I'm glad I didn't. But not a shabby recovery, all things considered. It could have been much worse if there were cars around. A small incident for Mohamed Colombo as well.
Van der Vakke hasn't had the race that he's wanted to, has he?
No, he hasn't. He'd have to say the same
Two.
for Matisse as well, down in P7 currently. So a lot of the guys that started up front, it hasn't quite worked out for them. You have to say Robin, that strategy to start on the wets has worked out very well.
Yeah, Mohamed Colombi doing roughly the same as Van der Vakke. Waits a little bit with the rejoin there. Lovely to see that he doesn't just go on track. Oh, and here's someone else. It's Ivan Avina. We saw him go off
Into
before.
cops. Oh,
Had a
big
spin,
hit.
yeah, and now loses it into cops. Yeah, I should say it's a big hit. It's gonna have a lot of damage, not only to his front and rear, but also I think rear left tire or wheel. Doesn't look like it's attached properly. He's crabbing away.
Something's not on. Oh, that's front left as
Yeah,
well.
it's yeah, it's the entire left side that's not really cooperating. Is it an suboptimal car performance? Albert Piem in a bit of a fight, isn't he? P7 pulling away. Is that Mohammed behind him? I think he's not been lapped yet, has he? Mohammed.
He has. He had he's
Yes,
about 2 laps down on the leaders, but I believe he had an incident that was in the pit lane. So
yeah, also had a bit of an incident before.
So interesting. Daniel Maggioni has dropped off the back of his teammate a little bit and has been harassed by Cohen, who obviously started on the wets and has been on those wets and start the race, so you might start to see a bit of tyre degradation. Watching the weather on the right hand side of the screen as well, we're not seeing the same. We saw the moisture on the track dropping quite significantly when the rain first cleared. We're not seeing it clear that much, and we can see a little bit of a dry line occurring, but in my opinion, Ule, it's nowhere near dry enough to even consider going to a dry, and I don't think it's going to get dry enough at any point in the race.
No, with this amount of spray, I don't think it's close enough neither. It looks like it's still a bit weather conditioned. The dry line isn't that dry, as you see how dark the track still is, and how much you have to control. You see there on the outside, that's some dry patches, right? That's what you're looking for when you want to go into the pit and change for dry tires.
Leaders
As we
pit.
see, it's 2 GT3 Pro leaders pitting.
So interesting to
Maybe
see
they think
Cohen
it's,
carrying on. Cohen, who's obviously not pitted at all yet, and Daniel Maggioni, Matteo Ubertali, and Samir Shard have all pitted. So interesting to see that maybe Cohen, if Cohen can go this lap, which you'd imagine he could, which will be about a 2 minutes 16 lap time, I would imagine, in the GT3, he'll have reached half distance. He'll only need one more stop to make the end. Whereas with Daniel and Matteo pitting now, I'm not so confident they can make it all the way to the end.
I'm
No,
pitting
I'm gonna
maybe.
have to do a lot of fuel saving. Of course, there's a lot of fuel saving included in wet weather, but we're gonna see how it pays off for them. But don't think it's just for fuel that they have to pit now, isn't it? They should have fuel for more.
I think
Looks like
maybe
it's
they've looked at the
enough.
fuel consumption and realised they can make it to the end from here. So like get the new tyres on, and they'll take a couple of laps to warm up, but then you won't have to worry about that again to the end.
And of course, they have data that we don't, so a little bit difficult to try and give a qualified guess on what it's going to be like fuel-wise. Johan Noel still leading. He still has a 20-second gap to Gutierrez.
P3 overall as well, so still sitting on the overall podium and the GTP class podium, so really great to see. He's lost a little bit of time to Avali. He's about 6 seconds back. He's only about 1 second off the back of Seaman, but
Yeah,
it's
great
interesting to
performance.
see.
we saw his teammate in last week around. Doesn't look like he's. Oh yeah, I just talked about him. Matteo Lindman had a great time at Imola. Almost predicted that Silverstone wasn't going to be his lap. Not too hard.
Incident starts
Yeah,
even
okay,
earlier
hit
on than
him
that. Let's try and find the beginning of that. I think we need to go all the way back here.
So he's going on the. No, he loses.
Really scary incident there.
He loses it on himself.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look like the Porsche was involved in that. Might have been the curb on the outside. The curbs are deadly in the wets.
Duhamel in from the lead.
Yeah, so my question was actually going to be if you think Robin was going to pit before or after P2 in this class, just to get that information. But Gutierrez is also pitting now.
So it worked out pretty perfectly for
Might
him.
get him into the view shortly.
So we'll put the tyre compounds on screen. I'd be extremely surprised if anyone did anything other than wet. Just ask for an update from Race Control if you could stick us a message on screen perhaps, if we're expecting to have rain soon.
Yeah, so still wet tire, sorry. Doesn't look like anybody has changed.
That makes...
still on wet at least, so it's just been a pit for fuel. I should say, I think it's gonna be it then. They can turn off the fuel stop now, just have to focus on the tires. Question is if it's even gonna be dry enough conditions. We still have 29 minutes left, or 28 and a half. And if it's gonna start raining again towards the end, it might just work out for them to stay out on fresh wet tires. Take the penalty that it includes to have wet tires in the dry, but then gain it back as soon as it starts raining again.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if it gets anywhere near that dry, and if it gets wet enough that when you're driving on a sort of semi-slick, slightly dried out track, you're going to wear down the tyres a little bit. They're going to get into a bit of a heat cycle. Maybe it's worth coming in for the fresh wets, and are they going to be significantly quicker? I think that's going to be interesting to consider. And Mateus yet to pit. Maybe he's thinking I can make this on. He's done one pit stop, as has a lot of the other cars around him. So maybe he's thinking he can go a little bit longer and try something a little bit different. But it's going to be difficult. He's lost a lot of time in the early stage of the race, so he'll be trying to make that back up after starting on pole, and having that mistake on lap 1 is really going to cost him from the looks of it. But we've seen him do it before and come back to win in class, or at least get on the podium after a difficult start. We saw it at Long Beach, so going to be interesting to see if he can do that again. We've got some close battles down in the GT3 field. Daniel Maggioni is is a little bit back from Matteo after the pit stops, but he's being harassed by about 4 cars here, we can see. So we've got Samir Ashad, who is about 2 tenths off the car in front, basically touching distance, and basically nothing in these sorts of conditions. And he's only 4 tenths off of Stefan Vestra, who's about 1.5 seconds off Daniel Maggioni. So Daniel Maggioni's had a slightly better final sector, but it looks to me like this is a battle keep our eyes on right now.
Yeah, the battle left P4. No, P5, sorry. That's a P4? No, that's P4, doesn't it? Yeah, it's Vesta leading this little train. After you set a bit of this contact, looked like a bit of a wiggle there from Cohen. Not sure if it was on the braking or if it was a tap from behind, but still pointing in the right direction, having a great exit here. So got a little bit of a note here from the race control backtrack being cleared from the 38. Not sure what that's about. Probably not that important coin.
Also got a back flag when leaving the pit lane, perhaps. I'm not sure actually.
Looks like a little bit of traffic there. Doesn't seem to be anything in the same class, so it might be lap traffic. It's trying to see how that's going to involve, of course, more difficult to navigate with your own traffic than it is with GTPs. GTPs usually just come flying past, whereas GT3s is of course at your own speed, if you are in a GT3, that is. Cohen pulling away a little bit. Want to get up to Stefan Vestra, who is pulling away significantly more. Who's that in the Audi? Isn't that
That's Daniel Maggioni just lost the position to Stefan Vestra.
Daniel Maggioni.
And looks like he's pretty slow right now, not enjoying these conditions.
Didn't see him this slow before. But that's another thing I think we can try and look at. We talk about when does it convert into like dry conditions. If we like try and look at the lap times, you can see Jean-Paul Simon did a 57 not too long ago. That's roughly 10 seconds slower than, of course, it's qualifying session from Matthias, but 10 seconds, I don't think we're close enough. I think when you start to look between like 5-6 seconds from what you would normally run under dry condition, you can start to make a bit more of a call towards what's going to be right and what's going to be wrong. But then you try and look at the radar as well, because you do still lose time. So
yeah, I think a big bit of that is GT3 and GTP. GT3 you're going to be online most of the time, so you can kind of afford to go to the dries perhaps a little bit sooner. But if you're in the GTP and you're trying to overtake traffic and you're going offline, that's going to get really difficult. We saw Lewis Hamilton in Imola in 2021, of course, trying to get around some lack traffic who didn't want to move off the dry line, and that sent him into the wall. So worth considering for GTPs if it gets to that stage that you're going to have to be offline to pass a lot of these cars, and you're probably going to go straight on in the braking zone if that's what you do. Although important to note here, we see quite a few GT3s going into the wetter patches of the track to try and bring the tyre temps down a little bit.
yeah, but it's also what we're trying to see here, right? It's of course still wet, but there's a little bit of a dry line that's getting drier for heavy lap as everybody is driving across it, and that's just giving you that slight bit of edge you need to try and stay ahead compared to the wet tire runners trying to move around the outside. It's just going to be significantly more difficult when you have less traction, even though a wet tire does pretty well in the wet. Looks quite dry here from the angle that we just had, but you see the spray. 4 or 5 cars down from here. I can assure you they can't see anything other than the headlights right in front of them. If they're lucky, they get to see some white lines as they go across them.
There's the move for P3 in Pro. Harley somehow is going to get past. So that's Cohen coming out the pit lane. That's how the position was gained. So Cohen's done his second stop now. Balaz, sorry, has done his second stop. So he'll be good to the end now, you would have to say. Perhaps the other cars are going to have to come in and do some more pit stops in GTP. Mark Hutchinson joining the battle now. Just as I say that, he's coming into pit. Oh, contact.
So the spin. Yeah.
Cohen spins round Daniel Maggioni. Let's try and go on board with Cohen for that incident.
Race controlling.
Having in the end, steering wheel, I think he's looking forward to a penalty there, Cohen. Looked, of course, it's not intentional when you take someone out. Yeah, just doesn't time it right, and then hits the guy ahead. I think there's a bit of a fake there with a guy braking for someone else, and then Cohen is just not in the receiving end, but giving him. I think you can call it. Great for Samir, he's up into P4.
Yeah, not far to go to the podium.
Difficult. But look at how much he has to steer out. He's turning the wheel right as he's going left in a fast corner. It's just not ideal.
Big snap for GTP in front.
It's raining. I don't think it's the spray.
I think this is the spray.
Yeah, could still be the spray. Yeah, they are
shown no rain.
For it to be that.
Yeah, you can see it getting lighter when he's not quite as close to the cars in front.
Yeah, of course, it's gonna increase when you got you have a GTP that's spraying half of the track on your windshield. But I think it's still raining a little bit. Don't think it was only the spray there that we saw.
Alvaro trying to make a move on Amy Grime to get past the AM driver, who he seems to be a little bit frustrated to be stuck behind at the moment. He's done his second pit stop.
Don't think it rains. Not right now, at least.
You can see the moisture in the air increasing, so perhaps the chance of rain is going to be getting higher. It's a big cloud in the distance if that's coming towards us.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see a weather radar, yeah. Pretty soon. Then Grime goes right there and Navarro capitalizes on the mistake and goes past. Great to see. Now, this is not the spray, is it? Can't be the spray from
Race
the GCP ahead.
update from race control. This rain is no more than 7 minutes away. That was an update given about 3 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago. So we're only there we go. That's rain.
Yeah,
That's rain.
Heavy rain. Or at least something that's gonna be very heavy. So I think that's it for the dry tires. George, I don't think we're gonna see them anymore. Gonna be packed away.
Pretty impressive if someone managed that in the next 20 minutes. Yeah, rain just shut up on the iRace control weather radar. We're currently at 8%, 9% now, ticking up very quickly. Only moderate rain, of course, after iRacing's decision. Intense rain was equivalent of red flag conditions. So we did change the session this week to only be moderate rain. But obviously that rain's still been pretty heavy and is about the heaviest you can race in. Mateo a little bit loosey when he tapped the puddle out on the inside. He's about 25 seconds off the leaders in class, but the leaders in class are very close. I was going to take a look at that battle that's going to heat up as the rain comes out. Ignis obviously been pretty dominant so far this season in the AM class, probably be getting promoted to pro if he returns next season. As I said in the qualifying session, keep an eye out for an announcement about next season. Obviously we'll brief you on that at the broadcast next week if the decision is made by then. If not, it'll be at the season finale. Keep an eye out in the Discord if you're there, and if you want to join the Discord and register to race with us, we do have some discounted entries for the next couple of races. We'll leave that for a minute because Ignis looks like he's about to make a move. Can he make it move? Really difficult place to overtake, but he's slotted it through, and that's really, really impressive.
Yeah. Great piece of bravery there from Ignis. I almost saw him when he had to go right. The car doesn't really want to do what he wants to, just because it's getting increasingly more red. Yeah, you see the rain again as we're going down here the hangar straight. But car 40, it's not who is it? I was gonna say it's Matteo, but Matteo doesn't want the.
It's Anthony, Matteo's teammate.
It's Anthony. Yeah.
Currently running P2 in. Although saying that we've only got 4 drivers running this race, probably due to the weather conditions. So good time to point out as well, next season the AM and Pro class of course will be returning, so it's a great way to get into league racing if you've never really competed before and you're just trying to find out what it's all about and you're worried about competing with the guys at the front. Often the best racing happens in the AM classes, so don't be afraid to join us. Like I said, hit the Discord in the link in the description.
Yeah, but it's been great racing in all classes today. From what I've seen, it's of course some people hate each other, but that's just what happens in wet weather conditions. You can't always be lucky, but great respect between the drivers. They don't just shove each other off to try and gain a position, because it does have consequences. That's the entire purpose of having race control. They can point fingers and say you get a penalty if somebody makes a silly mistake.
Instant here for Aaron. What's it going to be? Rear spin and braking?
Heavy braking.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Loses the rear. It's a classic at this point. He's not the only driver to have done it, but he's also done it more than once. Samir shot P3. So a great improvement from Samir. As mentioned earlier, he started off towards the back. Managed to crawl his way up into P3. Right now, only a second behind Cohen Garrett, and then it's another second from him up to Patali. So everything is still in reach for Samir. 15 minutes left of the session, plus minus a lap.
So Matisse has done his second pit stop and he's only 12 seconds off the leader, so he is gaining, it looks like, on his teammate. just waiting for him to play for them to cross the line this lap, and I can tell you what the rate of gain seems to be, but it's pretty good for Mateus on his teammate Avale, currently running second. He's only done one stop, so he may have to pit again, as we've seen a lot of drivers switch to the 2-stop. Cohen, I think, is probably committed to the 1-stop. He's only 1.2 seconds off the lead right now. Does have a time penalty though, 2 time penalties to serve at the end of the race, totaling 15 seconds, 1 for forcing another driver off a track and 1 for causing a collision.
I just thought about the gaps between the different drivers. If
Race control.
if you take a look at the scoring board, you see Jean Paul, he's almost 12 seconds in front of one. Both drivers having phenomenal races. I think it's gonna be difficult for Matthias Weiden to try and catch up to any of those guys. He's just lost a second there to Jean Paul from whom I've just been speaking. Might be able to get the position back or get up into P2. That's not out of reach for him, but 10 seconds in 14 minutes, that's gonna be difficult for a driver of his caliber. Then we look down into the GTP and it's Duhamel. Phenomenal race from him.
We just had
Been
3 drivers
dominating
pick up
most of the
meatballs.
time.
Wonder what happened there.
Oh, there are some more incidents. It's Anthony, P2.
I was going to say, I thought I was part of the same crash, but let's review Anthony's incident and then see what happened.
Coming down here.
It's going to be GTP up the inside.
Turns in.
Tagged from behind.
Yeah.
Looked like he got tagged from behind.
Didn't he just lose it? I don't think anybody was behind him. Unsure. Didn't see it from the outside. Then it's David van der Wacker. So this is a bit of curve.
Oh, someone's gone off in front.
Yeah, someone's gone off.
What happened there?
He's get tagged by that. Yeah, okay. That's it's not his fault at all. He's just been insanely unfortunate this race. Had some incidents on his own, and then he's struck by this unlucky moment.
Try and get a replay.
So
Oh,
the
car
other-
ahead. Spun into the barrier and he had nowhere to go.
It's at Daniel Runicke in the Cadillac. I don't think it's
Yeah, I believe so.
Diaz usually
Yeah.
drives the green Cadillac. Yeah, Daniel Runicke losing a front as well. I didn't quite see it, but I think he might have touched some curb and then a bit too much throttle, and then the Caddy turns around. Caddy Classic.
I believe it was Mateus involved in that. It was. Thanks to GT3. That was the Anthony incident.
Yeah, okay, yeah, he does turn Anthony around.
Only very, very
That's
slight contact, it
not
looks
great
like.
from Matthias. Thing without having to judge too much, that's looking like at least a 5-second penalty.
It's under investigation by race control.
I don't get the entire picture here, but it didn't
Cohen
look,
going for the lead here.
look too good. Yeah, half a second. Cohen, Dutch driver, showing what it's like to be Dutch and driving in the wet conditions. Talk about them maybe showing up today, and that's what Cohen is doing right now, going for the GT3 one. If he can make it stick and if he can pass Super Tiny. Just quickly want to finish Robin Duhamel. He's got a 28-second gap down to Anthony, which of course just been spun around, but still. No, that's not Anthony, that's Gutierrez. Sorry, completely mixing up 2 different drivers. But yeah, Duhamel, great race from him. And then more time down to Rodius. Going, looks like he's tried to go for a move up the inside there, but that's just lost some time instead. But 5 tenths. Trying some different lines now. I think he's trying to see where the grip is and try and figure out how he can come past Ubertali.
Mateus
Just trying to see where he's going.
Mateus has been given a
It's 1 for 2.
5-second time penalty for that incident, just to make everyone aware. and now he's off the podium as well without that, after losing a bit of time. So he's got a big task. He's not going to make up 10 seconds on Balázs, you wouldn't have thought. So that's a podium over for Mateus, it seems.
Trying to pull something insane out of the head if he wants to grade up into P3.
Let's have a look what happened to Alvaro. Oh, bit of a wiggle already. Car struggling in the puddles, perhaps. Whoa. Doesn't like the change of direction.
Great save there.
God, couldn't be much worse. We've seen drivers go into the barrier for much smaller snaps, haven't we?
Yeah.
Mateus has been off track again as well. Not sure what's happened here. Oh, stuck it up the inside. That's where he lost all the time. Trying to pass an AM driver and didn't. Oh, I was trying to pass for P2 actually, and he couldn't make it stick. That's extremely unfortunate.
No, but who was it that went off the track?
That was Mateus. That's how he lost the time to Avale.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah.
Getting desperate to get past, I believe, after he was given that 5-second time penalty, trying to make up the position so he could get that 5-second buffer built in. And in the end, it looks like Carbon Collectors is always away, because trying to make a rush move fast into Stowe is never going to work.
P3 in the GTP Pro. So Roxy. Oh, he was really close before 10th, and now he's a second back. How?
Just had a wiggle, it looks like. Let's have a look at the moment.
Like he went for a dive bomb into Stowe.
Ooh, yeah.
Not a dive bomb, but a move up the inside, and then he's just lost a lot of time. Unfortunately, really close for Balázs.
With his GT3 battle still ongoing, the crucial thing here is can Matteo Vitali make it to the end on fuel load. He did pit one lap earlier than Cohen did, and you would imagine he can still make it. Samir Ashad cannot make it, though he's in. You would imagine Cohen can still make it to the end. Cohen we know can still make it to the end. Would like to imagine that Matteo can still make it to the end. You know, this entire second stint has been in the wet, so fuel consumption is much lower as the GTP goes off in front and nearly takes his teammate with him. Does hit the wall. Looks like he's managed to somehow kind of get away with it.
I'm not sure how he doesn't get any wheel damage from that contact. That didn't look too soft. And I don't think the concrete balls in the pit lane is forgiving for incidents like that.
Let's have a look.
That's a Patrick Silvasi. Goes off a little bit, hits some of the...
Very lucky there to get away with minimal damage. He has got a meatball actually. The car clearly not handling too poorly, but he has got a meatball.
Not as minimal as you would have thought. Cohen still, of course, compromised a little bit by GTP flying across the track right in front of him, but a 1.5 second back, so he's lost some time to Garrett. He's gonna want to make that back soon. Saw him struggle with getting close enough to make a pass here on Upatali.
Well, this is the same incident we saw earlier on.
Just widen. Yeah, it's just that's him going wide as he's trying to make it past Young Solvale.
He's just lost a lot more time somewhere, and I'm trying to work out why. But it's like he's just
quite make it onto the gravel.
Looks like he's just had a few off tracks and then slow down subsequently, trying to keep it on the road.
Yeah, it's grass down. That's gonna slow you down a lot.
Balázs back all over the back of the driver in P2 of Arle. Can Tarowski make a move somewhere? It's getting difficult. The rain's back out now, so it does mean you can kind of go offline and not lose too much time, but you don't know what bit of a track's going to have what kind of grip when you get to it.
Yeah, but you're always going to have just a little bit of a not dry line, but drier line on the racing line with all these cars going through it. So it's going to give you just a little bit of an edge in your opponents when you come driving through, but it's not as bad now as it was just 10 minutes ago on the offlines. See, Balázs is taking a bit wider line here through Luffield. See if that's going to be enough for him to make it past Ovale. He's gaining a lot of time, just gained 0.2 but it's not quite.
Is Ross going to move?
Make it
Oh,
past
no.
Scopes.
And see the headlights, but he's not quite close enough. Just a big shout out to Robin Duhamel. That lead is now stretched to 46 seconds. I'm not sure if Alvaro's made another pit stop, but it doesn't look like he has. Although it looks like he's had perhaps a bit of an off track. A few off tracks for Alvaro, but
I think Robbie could go in and change to dry tires and then come out and do the rest of the race and still win.
It's just small incidents like that Robin's avoided all race, and that's what's sort of led him into the position he's in now. He nailed the strategy starting on the wets. It was called early on by some of us in the event management team that it would be worth considering, but he decided to just go dries, just go wets at the start when most of the drivers went dry, and it really worked out for him.
Really has, yeah. It's but it was the same we saw last week with Matteo Lim, who also won the IMSA race, and it's just about avoiding all of the carnage that's going on the track. If you can do that, then you get a lot more time than you do from just being faster than everybody else. If you hit a car, then you can do significantly more time than just being half a second a lap.
Big moment for Albert Preem here. What's going to happen? He's in the pit lane now.
Looks like he's
going to lose a rear. He's going to go.
Is that
oh, that'll do it. Yeah. Oh no, is that Samir with him as well?
Yeah, shot, isn't it? 46 car. Quite difficult to see what happens there with all the spray that's coming through. But if that was Samir, yeah, it was Samir.
Let's go on board with Samir, see what
I feel
happened.
sorry for him. He's had a great race.
Well, Samir perhaps lost it on his own as well.
No, he's being pushed by Albert, isn't he? That didn't look like a snap with the slow turning of the car. Would have been much more sudden. See here on the onboard.
I think they both lost it separately.
Maybe they just.
Let's take one more look at it.
Really
see if we can
incident.
work out what happened to it. A different camera angle.
So Albert definitely loses it on the curb.
Yeah,
that's for sure. The question is if he takes Samir with him. They are really close. Yeah, I can't see anything from this angle.
We're going to see much from many angles. No. Let's see if there's a static cam. Perhaps, can't find one.
No.
Let's take one more look at the incident.
To the stewards, I think they're going to be getting a greater view of this incident than we're going to have. It's the same view. It's a difficult call.
Let's try one more time.
For us, at least.
We're going to see it from this angle.
But it is
it's really hard to tell.
No, but I think Albert Preem loses it before he gets close enough for Samir to be able to touch him. A lovely reactions there from the Audi. He's not seeing anything. He's just seeing great cars spray, and then 2 cars standing still that he has to avoid, almost like an extra chicane on track.
Well, Laz has only got one more lap. You would imagine after this to make it before the checkered flag falls. Can he do anything to get past Avale? Oh, he's going to get a good run here. Going to have to break round the outside though. But what he does is keeps the outside. Oh, he tags him.
Oh, the touch. But that's
is this going to be the gift to Mateus? Is he close enough to take advantage of this? It doesn't look like he is. No, he's not.
He is not, but let's just say it's lucky to be able to get out in front of Morale. Question if he's gonna get a penalty for the contact. I'm not sure if it was intentional enough.
Let's see. I'd say he's entitled to room around the outside here. Oh, you'd have to say, it kind of looks like the driver in front just comes across a little bit. Yeah, I have to agree. Let's take one more look.
See, so Youngster is of course trying to cover the inside from Balazs, who's gonna have to go around the outside. It's just gonna be slower here in the wet, so he breaks. The question is if
Looks like
Is that
Balat.
the line that youngster is trying to take?
It's like Juanto
Because he
almost
can't
just
brake
locks
more
up a little
than,
bit. Yeah, carries a bit too much speed
The
maybe.
cars allows him. Side by side.
It looks like he drifts out a little bit,
So
in my opinion. I
turns
think.
in, but not enough.
Yeah. Mateus has got
I
a
think
black
it's a
flag
racing incident.
before incident points, but he doesn't come into the pit lane. Interesting to see. We will have one more. I think that'll be his last chance to serve it, actually, because he won't be able to make it all the way down the pit lane, so he'll get a big time penalty whacked on at the end of the race. Oh, spin ahead.
And who was that? Who's that off? Does he go off before or after the line? Yeah, it must have been before the line. I think the line is just before the boxes, the starting boxes, the grid. Question if they're done. Is it checkered flag?
No, I believe they've got one more
Are they
lap.
over? So somebody has just died in the final lap.
This is Mark D. Hutchinson
Landed
trying to get
Mark
on
D.
the podium in GT3. Matteo Vitali has pitted, and that's cost him the lead to Cone. We didn't catch that when we were watching the replays of the two incidents we just had, but Matteo Vitali is down to P3, Cone in P1, sorry. Then Ignace, the AM leader, is going to be P2 overall. I think if this was a little bit later in the season, the stewards will be looking at moving him up into Pro Class, and I think if he returns next season, he'll definitely be put in the Pro Class, where he can definitely compete outright there as well.
Cohen's going to be clapping his hands right now. 11 seconds gap down.
Hutchinson's really
to
slow
P2.
here down the straight.
Yeah. So the close racing we've had there throughout almost the entire race, GTP Pro has just vanished completely, and then it's turned into a 10-second gap, and the win for Cohen if he can make it home.
Yeah, made it work on that one stop by going one lap longer and having the wet tyres at the start of the race. So really, really impressive strategy. He's had to make that first stint last a lot longer than everybody else, and the second stint. So really, really impressive drive. Mark Hutchinson catches the curb a little bit, doesn't put the car in the wall, and that's checkered flag. So Jean-Paul Seaman has won in GTP Pro. We're going to get a lot of other people crossing the line before we get our other winners, but let's keep an eye. There's no real battles for position as we come to the line. Everything was decided in sort of the last 2 or 3 laps. Adam Jarvis perhaps can make up a position overall, but it won't be a position in class, so not worth the risk here. And a little bit late to be doing that anyway.
Not everybody is finished. We see Juan Diaz and Daniel Runke both finished. There comes Robin
Duhamel, 58.2 seconds. He'd be kicking himself he didn't take another 2 seconds out of that, and win by over a minute would have been mega impressive, unless Alvaro has a mistake in the last half of a lap. Saying that, there's still a long way to go for Alvaro, and there's still plenty of time to lose 3 seconds of a bit of a snap and give Robin an extreme winning margin in GTP AM. That would be mega impressive.
Gutierrez could still go off the track or have an incident, so it's not out of reach with the minute. See how the time still going up and down a little bit, but 58 seconds, George. If I could win by 58 seconds in my wet races, I'd be a happy camper.
Yeah, I'd say I think he would be kicking himself, but I think he'd be very pleased. He'll look back and think, oh, if only I'd pushed a little bit more, but at the end of the day, he's still won by what's going to be nearly 59 seconds as they come to the line. So mega impressive. Is he going to go to a minute? No, 59 seconds.
So he scored an entire second there on the final lap.
And watch.
Great race from Robin Duhamel. There's nothing else to say. It's been on.
I believe Ignace has overtaken.
One.
What's happened to Cohen? Cohen's lost a lot of time. Instead for Cohen, he's crashed out of the lead and he's crawling to a halt. Let's take a look at the replay, see what happened. He's already slow here. What's happened?
So Magazine Beckett, he's had an incident. He had his 10-second lead. Is he out of fuel?
He's out of fuel. He nearly made it work. The fuel master, and he's come to a complete stop. He's trying to crawl back. He's being pushed by his GTP teammate to the line. Let's see what Race Control think of that. But great to see the camaraderie. He's going to try and make it to the finish. But that's going to cost him the lead. And you know what that's going to do? That's going to promote Ignis to the overall winner in the GT3 class he was. He's obviously, of course, a GT3 AM driver, but he's going to win GT3 overall, which is mega impressive to see from the driver.
I think Daniel Macchione is going to have something to say about that. So he's finished before P1 and P2 has. So of course he
You're trying to push him along.
yeah,
What it's
he
worth,
couldn't do
the
anything
time
about
it
Cohen
ended, I don't
running
think
out
you
of
can
fuel.
take Czechoslovakia.
As we see him still struggling. He's in neutral.
You're
He's just trying
more than welcome to
to
try,
make it
but I don't think it's
through
going to
here.
count.
Race Control telling him they don't think pushing into the line is going to count because it's been too long since the checkered belt. But let's see what the results say. He's recorded as P3 currently on the timing software. P2 on the timing software has been recorded as, of course, and that's P3
That's
overall.
going to count.
Yeah, Race Control will definitely take a look at that. It's not really a fair advantage, you have to say, but
No.
he nearly made it work. His fuel saving wasn't quite as good in the second stint as it was in the first stint, it seems. Okay, let's take...
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, it's just what you mentioned earlier with the slipstream. I think I might just have paid in
I'm not
a
sure
little too
whether
much.
you've been
Maybe
given the Czechoslovakia flag.
not having slipstream here on the second stint. He was leading for quite some time, and then
I did already
just
27,
bitten him
26
in
laps, so
somewhere.
maybe that's why.
in the end.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a
Alright.
look at the results. Jean-Paul Seaman, winner in GTP Pro. His teammate Mateus didn't have the race he wanted down in P5, but winning by 25 seconds over your nearest rival is a very impressive winning margin usually.
Yeah, 25 seconds. It's a lot. GTP Pro, Jean-Paul, P1, Balazs, P2. Also, yeah, good race from him. Managing to crawl back, even though saw Janso and Jean-Paul with the wet tires in the beginning. Then Janso, P3 is gonna be. I think he might have something to say about the incident as well. I don't think he agrees with us that it might have just have been a racing incident. But let's see what the stewards say. It's Patrick Silvasi P4, another one of the wet tire runners at the beginning. Didn't quite work out 40 seconds behind. But then Matthias P5, Eloy P6, Albert P7, and then Marquez P8 here at the end.
And then in GTP AM, obviously Robin Duhamel winning by nearly a minute to Alvaro Gutierrez. Very impressive result for him. Yao Diaz P3, 1 lap down. Daniel Reneke 2 laps down in P4. Quinton Verdonk P5, 3 laps down to the leader. Carlos Ponce also 3 laps down to the leader. David van der Vacker 5 laps down, and Mohamed Colombo 6 laps down. I don't believe anybody after that will be scored, as they won't have reached the 85% needed. In GT3 Pro, we had Matteo Ubertalli, who's joined us in the booth. We'll get to that in a minute, but we'll just cover the results. He was a winner by over a lap to Cohen, who we'll see if Cohen believe he was scored or not, but we'll see if Cohen was scored or not by Race Control, but we'll take a look at that. And Daniel Maggioni P3 as it stands, Mark Hutchinson P4, Samir Ashad P5, Paolo Antonori P6, Adam Jarvis in P7, Lawrence Van Stryland in P8, Alvaro Valcarce in P9, Daniel Morphy in P10, and then Rick Van Overbeek in P11 and Stefan Vescher in P12. I don't believe, again, anybody after that will be scored. GT3 AM then, we'll just run through these quickly. Not many to look at. Ignis obviously won the race by over a lap to Anthony Cotaro, who had a lap's lead over his teammate Matea, and Amy Grime, who had a very impressive start to the race, dropped down to P4, and then Jessica Perry obviously didn't take part in the race. Right, we'll come to Matea first. Winner in the Pro class. Great to see, great race. How challenging were those weather conditions?
Hi all, sorry but my English is not really perfect, but I try my best. The race was crazy. It was a crazy race because I'm not really fast in this track, and I don't like it. So I try something different to the others. I and my team starts with the wet tires. In fact, in the first free lap, we get passed by more or less all other cars, but we don't need to pit. So we stay out and we try to push as we can. It works. It worked. Was crazy. Cohen did a great race too, but probably he finished the fuel, so he must stop at the last lap. But I wanna say one thing: Ineos was really crazy because he can have a giga fuel saving. Was a really good race for him.
Yeah, his fuel saving was very impressive until he ran out of fuel at the end and had to be pushed across the line by his teammate. I think that will probably be put under investigation by race control. But yeah, me and Andy before the race talked about starting on the wet tyres. And do you think that was probably the best strategy then? I mean, it looks like it led you to the win. So
yeah, it's a coin flip. We try and it's go good. So yeah, we are happy we win.
yeah, that's great.
We talked a little bit between the two, the raining that came. We had a bit of rain at the beginning. Of course, you talk about how you gambled with the wet tires in the beginning. That has paid out for you, obviously. Then it starts to dry up a little bit. George and I talk about if people would go on the dry tires, but it seemed pretty wet. Was it in your mind that maybe you would go on the dry tire between the two rains?
No. Our strategy was make all the race with the wet tires, because we think the track don't be dry in only 20 minutes. So we suffer a little with the wet, and we wait the rainy coming again.
Yeah, that's what we noticed as well. There's a lot of spray throughout most of the entire race. Really, it's only really the first 2-3 laps that was dry enough for dry tires. But
yeah, the start was really hard for us.
Yeah.
Okay, Ignis, you won overall and obviously won in the AM class. I can't remember what strategy you went on, but that is a very impressive result overall.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. And I did start with a dry. Funnily enough, I did 2-stop and fuel saved on the second stint as much as possible as I could. I barely finished the race, honestly, and I have no words. I didn't expect to be anywhere in the dry. I practiced. I wasn't that quick, but in the weather, it's something switched, and I just kind of did have the pace of the top guys, and that's pretty much. No words, seriously. That's pretty much how it went. Just fuel savings, and the last corner, pretty much like a couple last corners, and just seeing a car in front of me just kind of slowing down was absolutely shocking. I could not believe it. Like, I will overtake with P1. Yeah.
Okay, it's great to hear. Thank you for joining us both. We'll have to head off now so we can bring the stream to a close. We've got 2 break weeks coming up after this, and then we're back for a double header. So I think we've got 2 break weeks, as I just said. That's to allow drivers who want to take part in the Nürburgring 24 hours to get some proper practice in this week and then race next week. And so then we're back for Monza and Daytona. Daytona, obviously, we race there quite a lot in the IMSA series, but as I'm sure Ule can attest to, it is a classic IMSA track and is hard to avoid putting on the schedule.
Yeah, it speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. It's been a great race. Catch up on all of the previous races in the channel description, and you can also head over to the Discord for a discounted entry for the remaining races of the season if you want to get your eye in before next season. And as I said earlier on, there will be an announcement coming about next season's IMSA series and perhaps another series that we're going to run on the side. Okay, from myself, thank you for joining us. Ule, any closing comments?
No. Stay tuned for Daytona. It's going to be a great race. It always is with the banking.
Okay, all right. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.